Okay, I think it's picking up sound now. Okay, so just to kind of walk through you some things that I kind of ran into. I still left the import as a humanoid, as you should, because you have an import. But yeah, I have the same results that you had on yours, where the tracker was here, because that was actually how we recorded it. But some things to take into account that why you shouldn't use this as your final. First of all, the tracker, like I said before, it's in its own weird orientation. So you don't want to apply the motion here to the tracker per se and use it as is, because look at the angle that it's on, and it's pointing in some weird direction because of the natural orientation of the tracker. The second problem, I'm not sure if it's specific to this animation or not, is what you just saw there when it looped around. The orientation gets mixed up. That's specifically to do with the loop time as well as the root motion, which we'll talk a bit more later. So what I ended up doing in this example was, okay, so this is the default animation that you provided here. I just attached this clip animation to an animator and I threw it on here, and I'm using the avatar provided, and I have applied root motion on. It doesn't really matter for this specific one. I also made a separate one, which was from Final IK, which is the dummy in this on the screen here. And okay, so I'll show you the original example without my hero root here. So similarly to the preview window, if I hit play, he kind of just walks on the spot, and but also at the same time we have this other floating transform thing here, which is your tracker 4. So similarly, if we go to tracker 4, it's here. So if we go into the import and we turn this off, so if you go to here and turn it off, it actually, you kind of don't want to do that, because you turn it off, then you lose that transform floating around in space. So what I ended up doing to make it kind of work right now in this specific example, I put another transform outside. This is what we usually do in animation, is you reparent everything. So I have this Final IK transform, and I put it inside another parent. So I essentially start moving this parent around to get the position. So you don't want the rotation on the tracker, you only want the position. So I have this parent transform follow tracker 4, and then I gave it an offset to bring it back to the ground, because our tracker originally was floating about 1 meter in the air, so we're going to pull it down by a meter. So if you press play on this specific example, you'll see that the character is moving to where the tracker is, but the tracker was originally, like, here on your back, and we're just using this offset distance to bring it back to the ground. So you can see in this in this example, everything is kind of where it's supposed to be. So there's a couple things to take into consideration when you're doing mocap for use in games. So inside any mocap, you're going to be either jumping or shuffling, in this case, in your animation. And okay, so coming back to the main point, you can see the loop bug here as well. When it loops, it does this goofy thing here. So we're gonna have to look into that a bit later when we look at how we're recording it. But going back to the main idea is, inside when you do a mocap, you're gonna be jumping or shuffling. But at the end of the day, those parameters, how high you jump and how far you shuffle, are actually being controlled in game. So if you're pressing up, down, left, or right, or if you're pressing the jump button, you want to be able to variably adjust those values. So generally, having the root or the mocap like this outside, where it's kind of just oriented at center, it's sometimes a good thing. So if you're just walking around and the feet are just kind of shuffling or sliding on the same spot, it's sometimes a good thing, because when you start implementing controls, then you're actually physically controlling how far you move based on how much you press in any given direction, or how long you press the jump button. So those are some things to take into consideration. But yeah, there's still some other things we should try with Rokoko after we get next round going. But this is kind of how I deal with animations. So the other way to do it, which is not necessarily recommended, is you'd have to just import the FBX into Maya and then try to clean up the curves inside there or reorient things so that they're kind of matched to each other. So those are generally the two paths. But even inside Maya, a lot of animators I know, they'll try to do the reparenting and to offset things to bring it back to a certain position that they want things to where they want things to be at. So yeah, this is generally what I do with my animations is I just reparent with an offset transform, and that's kind of what I also use in my own mocap software for Unity, using the trackers to recalculate the transforms from wherever the tracker is down to the target position. So yeah, I think if you have any other questions, just post it to me on Discord.